Well, it wasn't pretty, but Miami got their second straight win on this crucial road trip, beating the Utah Jazz. Jaime Jaquez continues to thrive as a starter, and we'll break down his big game on tonight's episode of Locked On Heat.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to Locked On Heat, your daily podcast on the Miami Heat, whether you're tuning in on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. I'm Wes Goldberg here with David Ramil. Both of us are credentialed Heat media members who cover this team every day. Thanks for joining us today. If you missed it, check out our episode with Rowan Nadkarni that went up just before the Jazz game started on Thursday night, where we did a deep dive into the Jimmy Butler situation and how the Heat should approach the next few years. You're going to want to check that one out if you haven't already. But we do have a great show for you here today. We've got credit cookies to hand out, questions about Terry Rozier's role going forward. But we're recording this on Thursday night after the Heat's 97-92 win in Utah. Jaime Jaquez Jr. having his best stretch of the season, David. After making 16 three-pointers all season coming into this game, he goes 3 of 5 tonight from beyond the arc, including a big one with a minute left to put the Heat up 2 possessions. Then a few nights after missing clutch free throws that could have iced the game in Sacramento, he hits a pair in the final seconds of this one to ice the game tonight. He finishes the game with 20 points. It's his third straight start, Miami's second straight win, and Jaime has gone 4 straight games now in scoring double digits. This has been the best stretch of his season so far. Do you think that Jaime has turned the corner this season?
Yes, I do. I think he was off to a sluggish start. I had hinted at the possibility that maybe people had kind of figured out his repertoire and in terms of what he does and his attacks at the basket, and he looked a little step slower than he had last season. So I wonder if there was a lingering injury issue. I don't think he ever addressed anything. I don't think he ever said anything. Obviously, he did miss time earlier in the season, but he looks like he is back to form, and he is being aggressive, playing defense at a high level. I think you recalled a mention at one point in a previous episode that Erik Spoelstra said that when it comes to Jaime, it all begins with his defense. And I think we're starting to see that kind of take place where he's using his physicality, using his speed, his lateral mobility, such as it is, and is able to kind of just put pressure on a variety of different players, because he's not quick enough really to handle your smaller guards, but he can at least use his body to kind of stay in front of them, make things a little bit more challenging for them to get around him. And when it comes to wing players, he's physical enough and quick enough to kind of just body him up and try to force a turnover. And we're seeing some more anticipation from him where he's able to, I think, ignite some defense that leads to some offense. But I'm glad you brought up the free throws, because I think that's such a huge step, because you saw him miss those 2 free throws against the Kings, and he kind of drops his head, and he knows that he had blown a chance to potentially win the game for the Heat. And then when in a tight game, a game that probably shouldn't have been as tight as it was, for him to step up and hit that, and then seconds later hit that 3-pointer, or was it the other way around? I can't recall now. But either way, it was a fantastic, in this game.
The 3-pointer first, and then the free throws with a few seconds left.
The 3-pointer, though, that was just really incredible. Like, gets a screen from Bam, kicks it out to him, and he calmly collects himself and knocks.
Well, what's great is he gets on the drive on the possession previous, like, comes out with this hard drive into the paint, like this sudden burst on a first step that I don't know that I've seen all season from him. That's why I do think that groin issue was lingering a lot for that, and I think he's finally over it, because his first step is so much better, and that's not just tonight. It's been over the last couple of games. Yep. And he just sprints to the basket, gets fouled by Walker Kessler, at least it's called as such. Hardy, the Jazz coach, challenges it. It gets overturned, and then the Heat get the ball back because there's no imminent possession. So they get the ball back, and Jaime's like, all right, fine, I'll just hit a 3 instead. And that's what he does.
Yeah. That could have been a moment there where you're like, he was exhausted. Like, after collecting that foul, he's lying on the floor there. You can see that it took a lot of effort to challenge the big man in Kessler, and you want to be rewarded with free throws. Instead, the foul gets taken away, no free throw attempts. That could have been a moment there where he could have said, oh, I'm doing all this, exerting myself, and it's all for naught. Instead, he just, as you said, collects himself.
I thought
Takes that
he was going to
three-pointer,
do it
hits
again because Bam wins the tip ball, huge tip ball win over Walker
Yep.
Kessler, by the way, who's given
Yeah.
Bam's given like 3 or 4 inches to him, but gets a tip ball and then the ball ends up with Jaime at the top of the key and Bam setting a screen. I'm like, are they just going to run this thing again? Are they just going to run it again? And he's like, no, I'm just going to step right into this 3-pointer. So to have that confidence in that moment when you know that those free throws were sort of just taken away from you there was huge. And just, an aside, like a weird situation where they kind of gave Jaime the ball, which if you give Jaime the ball at the free throw line, you shouldn't, like, possession has occurred. You're not allowed to challenge the previous then possession. But you can see on the replay, I will say this, and I thought the Heat broadcast missed it. You could see on the replay Will Hardy calling for the timeout before the baseline ref tosses the ball to Jaime. So that was just sort of the timeout was awarded by the sideline ref, and the baseline ref was just sort of like right before the throw. So I think I do think the officials got it right in that moment. But yeah, for Jaime to step up in that way and then hit those 2 free throws late in the game when the Heat were inbounding it, trying to find Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson instead, like they double cover Tyler. He can't get the ball and they prevent him from getting it. And Duncan tosses it to Jaime. Jaime gets fouled right away and he sinks both free throws. So now 20 points in this game, 18 the other night against Golden State, 16 against Sacramento, 13 against Utah at home when they lost that game. So 4 straight games in double digits. You mentioned the defensive stuff. For him, it's the steals. 5 steals in that Sacramento game, and then 2 steals in this game in Salt Lake City. So he's starting to get more involved. And I do think, I propose a question to you. I do think it's been a turning point. This is a turning point for Jaime, and they need this so badly with Jimmy Butler coming back. We do have a question about that a little bit later, so we're going to put a pin in that topic. But before we move on, one other thing from this game, I'm surprised we did not see the Kel'el Ware Bam Adebayo lineup in this game, David. Like, really surprised. Utah is a team that runs huge. They'll play 3 7-footers at one time between Markkanen, Filipowski, and Walker Kessler. And there were moments in this game where I'm just like, put them in, just like, let's go. Like, you have, if you're Miami, not 3 7-footers per se, but you could put Kel'el Ware, Bam Adebayo, and Nikola Jovic out there on the court together. And I know that you don't necessarily want to match up with a team that's won 9 games. You kind of want to establish the rules of engagement. I understand that. But, I mean, for a pocket of the game at some point, it doesn't even have to be the fourth quarter, but like at no point, I'm still wondering when we're going to see it, David.
I'm a little surprised that Miami actually wound up being even in the rebounding battle because it felt like every time there was a loose ball, it was going to be tipped out by Kessler or pulled down by Markkanen or something like that. But you know what? To Miami's credit, Rozier, Hero in particular, I think they did a really good job of like attacking the basket, being aggressive, trying to collect those rebounds and ending possessions in their favor. So I don't know. I texted you. I think maybe it feels like it's just reluctance from Erik Spoelstra at this point, but there was also a logistical reason in that you didn't even have Kevin Love available. So you didn't have another center on the roster. I mean, you could have gone, I guess, small and gone with Nico to play some minutes at the 5 if you had to give either Bam or Ware a rest. But I agree with you. Like, I thought Ware was really impactful in his minutes, and he's great. He's looking much better as well. And as much as we're pointing out Jaime and his progress, I think Ware looks more physical. I think he looks more confident. He's attacking the basket. He had a couple of nice post moves there. He's catching everything around the rim. Like, you got to give the kid a chance.
He had a defensive play where he kind of like blocked. He like got a block, but he kind of sideswiped the block. You know what I'm talking about? Because in the second half, he sort of sideswipes a block, and it kind of gets kicked back out to the 3-point line. A Utah Jazz player scoops it up, and then he steals the ball and then kicks it out to Tyler Hero down on the other end. I'm like, oh, this guy is routinely making plays. He had 4 offensive rebounds in this game that were huge. Again, I don't know that I'm not even saying that you have to start him in this game, even though I thought this would have been an opportunity. But you found something here with Jaime starting. I get it. But to not, like, maybe just a moment in the middle of the game somewhere where you just say, you know what, there's like a minute left in the quarter. Let's just throw them both out there and see what happens. And that doesn't affect like the rest or who the backup is at all. It's just like, let's just try it for a couple of minutes and see what happens. And I don't know what it is with Erik Spoelstra. I don't know that it's reluctance. Like I said, I think that Spo wants to play big. Like he's kind of told us in the past that, like, trying to play Kevin Love and Bam Adebayo together. Like if you're experienced and he trusts you, he'll put two bigs on the court. There's still something that's holding him back here. I don't know exactly what it is, but we got questions about that. We got questions about why he's remained loyal to Terry Rozier in the starting lineup. But before we get to that, credit cookies is next. I think I know who two of these. Two players that are getting cookies. Are you going to give it to more than two players? Because I don't know. I don't know who deserves it. We're going to talk about that next year on Locked On Heat.
Today's episode is brought to you by TurboTax. This is a message from our sponsor, TurboTax. Intuit TurboTax, I should say. Are you tired of the endless waiting, wondering, and worrying about your taxes? Well, now that's a thing of the past. You see, taxes don't need to be complicated or stressful. TurboTax is here to change the game by matching you with a TurboTax expert who can get to work on your return right away. No more waiting for answers. No more wondering if you're missing out on deductions. Whether you've got one form or 20, TurboTax experts gives your taxes their undivided attention while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on what really matters. You won't have to lift a finger, but you'll get the peace of mind knowing that your taxes are being handled by the pros. Ready for stress-free taxes and the most money back guaranteed? Well, head over to TurboTax.com today and get matched with your expert who's ready to take your taxes off your plate so you can focus on your day. Only available with TurboTax Live full service, real-time updates only in the iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at turbotax.com/guarantees. We'll be right back.
Cookie guy, cookie guy, cookie guy, cookie guy. Stack them high like a cookie chain. Sharing with friends, spreading the fame. Every bite, life's never the same.
Recording. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Your favorite NBA team has a free daily newsletter introducing the Locked On Heat newsletter, one stop for ultimate Heat and league coverage with local analysis and amazing writing from Katie Heindel, Mike Shear, and Locked On Fantasy Basketball tips from Josh Lloyd. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. Well, David, it's another Miami Heat win, which means it's time to hand out those credit cookies. Who's got their hand in the cookie jar tonight?
Well, we already talked about Jaime Jaquez and his impactful game. 7 of 11 from the floor for 20 points. Really great performance overall. Attacking the basket, aggressive on defense, making big plays down the stretch. He's going to lead the way with four credit cookies for Jaime Jaquez. And I think they're all well deserved there. Are you doing the math already?
That is 6 left, right? That is the most credit cookies he's received all season, officially.
Yeah.
According to our tally. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Tyler Hero, who also led the team with 23 points, 7 of 17 shooting. He struggled from three-point range, but hit a couple of big shots down the stretch. 4 of 10 overall from three. Yeah, it was
3%.
not bad at all. Like it was a lot of wide open looks that were being missed by everyone. Like Miami as a team.
That's fair. He missed some that you'd usually,
Yeah, they missed. They were 30% from the floor. They were bad from 3-point range. Duncan missed his shots. He went over 5, from 3-point range. Haywood Highsmith 1 for 6. He had some open looks. Terry Rozier, well, he struggled as well. I mean, it was just a bad shooting night, and it was kind of inexplicable because a lot of the looks were really great. Niko Jovic, I didn't mention him, but he struggled from 3-point range as well. But Tyler, to his credit, 40% shooting on 3-point range. That's not bad. So we'll give him 2 credit cookies as well. So that's total of 6. 2 credit cookies for Tyler. I've got 3 for Bam Adebayo.
Wow. All right. You got to explain why is Bam getting more credit cookies than Tyler Hero, who it felt like the Heat would have been dead in the water if not for Tyler tonight.
I liked Bam's overall game. He had a nice little run there in the fourth quarter, hitting a couple of jump shots. He started off the game that way as well, looking aggressive. Like when Miami needed a bucket, I felt like they went to Bam, and he compensated for the lack of size. Was able to stretch the floor a little bit, looked aggressive to me, and what he was trying to do defensively. I understand that this is what we've gotten used to now. And I don't think he's even playing his best season defensively as a starter. And yet, he's just covering so much ground. Like with Jimmy out of the lineup, he is really Miami's only plus defender. Like Haywood Highsmith, sure. I mean, he has his moments, but he's still going to get caught sometimes out of place a little bit. But it's really just Bam Adebayo as a plus defender. And as good as Jaime's improved, as much as Tyler's improved, Terry Rozier.
It's a lot of stress on Bam, to your point, but
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It
So to me, I felt
I'm
like
okay
those
with it.
jumpers that he had late in the game, I thought were much more impactful in terms of helping Miami pull away. I see your point as far as Tyler's concerned. I wish we could split cookies, but you've made this rule that we can't.
I don't know who
so
else is going to get a cookie. So tell me, there's one cookie left. Who do you have getting it? And then can I make the Tyler Hero argument? So just give me the name.
I got Khalil Ware getting a cookie. I
All
think
right,
Khalil
that's fine.
deserves it.
That's fine. Then I think we got to swap Bam and Tyler. Because you mentioned like when they needed a bucket. I mean, when they needed a bucket, it was Tyler Hero. He checks in the game. The Heat are down 3. He checks in with 8 minutes left, hits a 3 right away, ties the game at 80, comes back down. Very next possession, hits a 30-footer, back-to-back 3-pointers. He'd go from down 2 to up 3 within a matter of seconds of him checking in the fourth quarter. And then the Heat just sort of go on their run after. I thought Tyler Hero was they don't win this game without Tyler.
Yes, I totally agree with that. Also, 7 of 17 from the floor. So I'm using the percentages a little bit. 6 of 13 for Bam.
7 rebounds, 5 assists for Tyler. Like he had a couple of great assists to Khalil Ware on the roll when he was getting trapped. They were throwing 2 on the ball at Tyler Hero the whole time, all game.
I mean, I'm looking at Bam's stat line. He's got 7 rebounds. He's got 3 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, just 1 turnover. I mean, I thought it was an impactful
turnover
game
for Tyler too. It was an impactful game. I'm not saying no credit cookies. I'm just saying swap them. 3 for Tyler, 2 for Bam.
No, I won't do it. It's not a knock on Tyler. Tyler's got plenty of cookies this year, and he deserves them. Tonight was an off-shooting night, and as much as
so maybe take 1 from Jaime, go 3 for Jaime, getting twice as many credit cookies as Tyler.
It's all about context.
Right. Is it?
It is. To me, it is.
I feel like the cookies are the ultimate meritocracy. If you deserve the cookies, you get the cookies.
No, cookies are a nuanced, subjective award as far as I'm concerned. It's all about.
We can go a clean 3-3-3 for the 3 stars in this game. Tyler, Bam, and Jaime, and then give 1 to Khalil.
No, won't do it. Sorry, I refuse to yield.
How did you become like the czar of the dictator of the credit cookies? It's not even a negotiation anymore.
I don't know. I mean, I'm open to it.
All right, let us know in the comments. Why is Dave? I know. We're gonna let the commenters decide. The ultimate. We're gonna get. I'm taking off I'm dethroning you off the high chair here. We're going back to a democracy here on Locked On Heat, and it's a straight up credit cookie coup. And I want the commenters. Let me know. Do you want a David's way where he totally snubs Tyler Hero for being the best player on the court tonight?
That's not a snub. He's got a ton of cookies. I just wanted to give 1 extra to Bam for his defensive effort, and also 2 extra to Jaime because he's having a breakout game. Like he's a younger player, and I mean, I think he deserves
charity cookies, man. I don't like these charity cookies.
No, to me, like again, it's all about impact. It's all about context. Like we've talked about
greater impact than Tyler Hero. Jaime Jaquez had a doubly the impact that Tyler Hero had. Come on. We don't have to keep arguing.
Expect him.
I don't care about expectations. I want to know, what did you do? What did you do? That's all.
All right.
Let us know in the comments what you think. Let's talk a little bit more about Khalil Ware though, because he is, and I've made this comparison before, and I just every single time he's Calvin Johnson out there, man. Like he catches everything. It's ridiculous. A couple nights ago, Duncan Robinson had that hook pass. Like it's literally just F it. Tyreek Hill is down there somewhere. That's how they are approaching it. And I don't even know that Whiteside was quite like this as a weapon, because he didn't Whiteside could jump like an inch off the ground. Like he wasn't like the springiest guy. Like Khalil Ware has this catch radius. Like to me, Whiteside's points came as like an offensive rebounder, dunker, put back guy. I don't remember them running high screen and roll quite this way with Whiteside.
Because he wouldn't screen. Because he wouldn't set screens.
Great point.
Not even ghost screens.
Yeah. No, 100%. I don't know that the Heat have ever. The closest thing that they might have had to this is like Birdman.
An older Birdman. Yeah, I guess you're right.
And it's like not even close, right? Like I'm just trying to think, like, what's the closest thing the Heat have had to this as an offensive weapon?
Nothing,
right?
Not in a long time or ever, really. I mean, they never really had that kind of lob threat before. I mean, there was
by the time we got our hands on Shaq, it wasn't It was more like dumping into him in the low post, like the pick
That's a
and
bit of
roll
work,
stuff
yeah.
with him. First of all, the pick and roll wasn't as prevalent in Shaq's early days, but there was times like in Orlando, the Lakers, or he was that kind of guy. But like by the time he was in Miami, it was mostly just dumping into him. Alonzo Mourning wasn't really like that either.
Same thing, yeah.
Yeah, so it was it's a lot of fun watching him play. It's like this cool like new weapon. I say this all the time, but like I think we confuse versatility with not being good at anything, and so you must just be versatile.
Yeah.
And Khalil Ware is actually really good at this one thing, even if there's other things that he lags at. But he's actually like for the first time, I feel like the Heat are actually versatile because they have like
Mm.
this new other thing to go in to a degree at least. I don't think they're versatile as a team compared to some of the other teams, but this is like the most versatile they've been in quite a while, in my opinion, because they have this new thing that just otherwise doesn't exist on the roster. That's the definition of versatility is like we could do this, and now we can also do this other thing that's different. The Heat have a Terry Rozier problem. I think
Mm.
Erik Spoelstra is only making it worse. We'll talk about what they can do to fix it next year on Locked On Heat.
Today's episode is brought to you by Rocket Money. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? Because I know it's happened to me. A few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for. Well, Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. And it's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's the subscriptions or your spending habits or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. Look, it happens to everybody. You're so prone now to adding subscriptions, whether it's for a new cable service or a new channel or a new app or whatever. You just sign up, you pay, you're like, oh, okay, maybe it's an introductory offer, you forget about it. Next
Can I give
thing
you an
you know,
example?
you wind up. Absolutely.
My wife and I just found out we were both paying for Peacock.
Yep.
Rocket Money.
Yep.
Thanks, Rocket Money. We tried it out with the / locked on URL here. I was like, wait, we're both paying for this thing, and neither of us even watches it. Great example.
There you go. That's how it saves you money. If you want to save money now and you want to cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster, well, you could do it with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/locked-on today. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on. rocketmoney.com/locked-on. We'll be right back.
Thanks again for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. The best way to support the show, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, like the videos, comment, let me know why David's wrong about his credit cookies and why we need to dethrone the dictatorship over the credit
I've
cookie
got a,
jar.
I've got a question related to Khalil Ware that I want to answer. I want you to answer during this segment if you can. I know you've got to finish up a statement here, but I wanted to throw that out.
Follow us on the podcast app. That's usually what I say. Go ahead.
There you go. Okay. Khalil Ware, his level of play, your request that he play some minutes with Bam, does it make it a priority for the Miami Heat to try and find via trade or somehow to sign a backup center, knowing that Kevin Love, as impactful as he's been as a leader and a locker room presence, he's not seeing the floor and he's probably falling out of the rotation, and that might be a permanent thing for him. So do you think they need to add somebody else to the roster? And you wouldn't think so, considering they traded Thomas Bryant.
Traded one away, right?
Yeah, who had a big game for Indiana just yesterday, but that's another story.
No, I don't think so. I think in a pinch you could still play Kevin Love. I don't think he's that bad, and I think you could play Nico at the backup 5 also. I think if you really wanted to start Khalil and Bam, you could just play those two guys. I think it would be fine. And really,
the
like what are we
Cleveland
talking
model,
about?
yeah, the Cleveland model. Yeah, they won a big game against the Oklahoma City Thunder, and a lot of it was their two bigs showing off their versatility, Jared Allen and Evan Mobley.
And they never played a backup 5, right? It was just those two. Like they start with them. One comes off, the other one slides to the 5. When he comes off, the other one that came out earlier comes in. I mean, it works. And in a pinch, they have Tristan Thompson, like whatever. But in a pinch, they can even go Dean Wade at the 5 if they need to. Like I think the Heat can run out. And that's why if the Heat had lost this game, I was prepared to just be like, this team does not do anything well. Like they're not good at anything. They're not necessarily terrible at anything, but they're not good at anything. And I still think at some point you just want to try some stuff, but I don't know. Maybe we're not there yet. Let's get to these questions from the Locked On Heat Insider Community now's the time to join. If you're not even trying this, I don't know what you're doing. First of all, with all this Jimmy Butler stuff going on, we are providing daily updates on the Jimmy Butler situation. When it's big news, we are providing at the moment, in the moment rather, updates and analysis and reporting on all of it, not just our reporting, but the national reporting. So you don't have to go digging through Twitter or websites or newsletter. All you got to do is subscribe to our subtext, the Locked On Heat Insider community. And whenever there's something new, we're just gonna text it to you. You literally don't have to do any work. Just look at your phone. You're already doing it anyway. Not only that, but you get first dibs at asking these questions for our post-game shows. Sign up today. Use the link in the show notes. It's free for 14 days. Again, I don't know why you're not doing this. Free for 14 days, and then $4.99 a month after that. You can cancel at any time if you don't like it, but you probably will like it because most people do. All right. Question number 1 comes from GX. What do you think it'll take for Spo to remove Terry Rozier from the rotation altogether? Related question from Malachi. Can you all explain to me why Terry Rozier is still seeing all the kinds of minutes when he's struggling as bad as he has this season? David, I can't figure it out. I don't know why Terry Rozier is in the starting lineup, even as they go back to a lineup that is as similar as you can get to when you had Jimmy Butler. And that lineup that was rolling, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy, Haywood Highsmith, and Bam, you have like a facsimile of that when you have Jaime in there with Haywood at the 4. And yet Spo's like, nope, we're going to start Terry and Tyler. And this team, they're small. There's not a ton of shooting. Terry Rozier really struggled in this one. I can't figure out why Spo is so committed to starting Terry Rozier.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that. I think it's just the possibility of what he can bring, the attack to the basket and things of that sort, the threat of somebody who can dribble and handle the ball, make plays for others, or at least in theory, again, space the floor. But since he doesn't do those things well, it just seems like an overcommit on Spo's part. And at some point, you have to look realistic. Like, you floated this out to me. I can't recall during what game.
Are they showcasing
that if they were showcasing Terry Rozier, and it's like, why? What's the point? You already know who Terry is.
But I can't think of any other reason. Like, is it so far-fetched?
Yeah, it has to be, because if there's a scout out there that's like, let's say you've happened to
Who's
catch
this Terry Rozier guy?
Yeah. If you're the one scout who's like, oh, wow, Terry has a big game today, and you're watching, and you're like, you might want to, reporting back to your GM and your front office and saying, you know what, you might want to look at this Rozier guy. I think he's got some moxie, some potential. It's like, you shouldn't have a
got
job.
A lake house in Boise to sell you. Yeah.
So I think the scouting report on Terry has been out there for a long time. I think it continues to be. Like, you and I were both optimistic after his acquisition, and I think part of that was just because Kyle was so bad during last season, and he just wasn't like as stable as he was in comparison to Rozier. He wasn't also doing anything of a positive note. He wasn't providing.
We liked Rozier's like room pressure, the shot making, like all the things that we thought this team needed, and they do need. Like, Terry Rozier's he's like a foot away from being a good basketball player. You know, like, he's so close. Like, you see it, you squint, like, oh yeah. Oh, he can get to the paint. Well, he can't finish at the rim. Oh, like, he can make threes, like, on the step back. Well, he's really inefficient. He misses a lot of those. Oh, he can hit these like cross court passes sometimes, but man, he makes some bad mistakes and he looks off the wrong guys at the wrong time. And his timing is just a little bit off as a passer, where he's not an efficient one. And he's got these long arms, and he was a good defender at Louisville, but he's not been a good defender basically for the last 6 years. It's very strange. Jonah writes in, how can this team get Terry more involved naturally? It's difficult when he's inefficient, but his efficiency and tough shot making, which is his biggest asset, seems to be worse when he doesn't get shots. Bring him off the bench.
You have to worry. Yeah, I don't think you have to worry about getting him going. Like, that's what Terry does. Like, he'll find a way to get himself going. Like, that's
what I'm saying. If you bring him off the bench, then at least there's that, okay, you don't have it tonight, we're going to cut your minutes. And then when you do have it tonight, you're closing halves, you're closing games, right? Like, I think that's the way to go. William B writes in, Jaime Jaquez Jr. has been playing much better. He looks much more freer and is confident taking shots. What do you attribute to it? And does the return of Jimmy Butler affect that at all? Related question from Andrew. How do they deal with Jimmy's return as Jaime continues to show the need for more opportunities? Do they suspend him or limit his minutes to keep pushing Jaime's growth? Or do they pull him aside and tell him he needs to up his trade value and showcase him too in order to get a better deal while collecting the wins that come with motivated Jimmy Butler? I love the
Well,
idea of suspending Jimmy Butler just to get Jaime more starts. Jimmy Butler suspended for another 4 games, not for conduct detrimental to the team, but for depth chart purposes.
yeah, that's a DNP old kind of thing,
Right.
DNP depth,
DNP
DNP
also taking your money
player
away
development.
for the
Yeah,
second year
I,
forward.
yeah,
Um,
I
I
don't know.
think
Like
in terms of just
we
getting him
talked
more
about it.
involved.
Yeah, we talked about the Jimmy situation. Like, I still can't see a world where they bring him back. I just feel like it's going to be such a, if there's a team that can handle and weather it, it's probably the Miami Heat, because they just don't reveal too much, but they're still human. There's still going to be moments. There's still going to be people in the locker room that is going to see Jimmy and what he does and how he says things and how he interacts. And
If Jimmy
I
Butler
don't think,
is if Jimmy Butler's acting the way he did the previous week before the suspension, that locker room doesn't
yeah,
want him back.
right.
And I will say this, everything that you are reading and hearing about the Heat are prepared to bring Jimmy Butler back, I'm not doubting the truthiness of it, but the reason it's out there right now is for leverage. It's posturing. We're not going to rush into a deal. Don't think you have
Yeah.
us on a corner that we have to get this thing done by January 17th. We don't. We're willing to at least wait until the February 6th deadline. And in fact, we're willing to wait until the end of the season too. So in other words, give us your best offers now.
Right.
Is what Miami is trying to do, and I think a lot of people see through that. But Flavio writes in, at the end of the game, there was a play on Terry Rozier that Spo should have challenged. Why does Spo never use his challenges? I think
was
this
a good
one
point.
this is the one with Colin Sexton, right? Colin Sexton sort of falls
Yeah.
into Terry Rozier. Rozier gets called for the foul. Rozier immediately is like, what are you calling the foul on? Like, he's upset with the foul call. I
Yep.
think it was very clear that Rozier or that Sexton just sort of fell over himself and into Rozier. This is multiple times now. Erik Spoelstra could have challenged that.
Yeah, you've joked about it before, and we've kind of, after years of covering Spo and hearing him talk and the way he approaches the game and everything else, like that, he sees the challenge as kind of an affront or an insult to the game, and like we're kind of half joking about it, but not really. Like, he just might see it
No,
as
not at
like,
all.
there's
He
no
hates,
point to it. Like, he hates
he
the
hates
idea of like
challenges.
that it impacts the integrity of a game.
Yep.
Which is funny because he is one of the most, if not the most, argumentative of coaches. Like, he really is demonstrative and challenges them, and he's talking to them a lot throughout the game when he disagrees with a call. But the idea of the challenge, just, it's not something he's comfortable with for whatever reason. And I
think
don't
it
know. Maybe
ties
it's on
into
the
the
assistants.
whole. It ties. I think it is a little. No, that's a great point. I'm sorry I cut you off because that was a really good point. It is on the assistants perhaps to be like, we need to challenge that. But the Heat don't recruit outside assistants. Everybody sort of comes up through the same pipeline.
Yep.
And I would imagine are brainwashed in the same way that Erik Spoelstra is in terms of the affront to the integrity and the morality of the basketball gods, and we will not disobey them. It's a lot of that. But if Chris Quinn would just come up and just be like, we need to challenge this, or somebody like, I do wonder if Spo would at least. I don't know if it just doesn't think about it.
Add somebody who is only there to watch foul calls, because everybody, I know, like, as former players, they're watching everything. And as great as Quinny is, and Karan and Malik and Wayne Ellington and Lagrania and all those guys, like, they do a great job there. But just have somebody on the bench who is there specifically just to watch foul calls and be like,
Spo
no,
is complaining this
challenge
much
that
about
one.
the foul calls, then he would at least he's looking at the foul calls. I don't know. I think to your point, there should be somebody in the back of the bench with the iPad, and they have that person for the right. Like, they do have that person, but they need to be more outspoken about it. Maybe. I also think that this is like Erik Spoelstra. It kind of ties into why he got on to Nikola Jovic there when Jovic didn't get back because he was arguing a foul call. And then Khalil Ware ends up fouling Patty Mills there, and it gets called for a flagrant. Jovic is going to get lit up in film for that, because that is the Heat. Say whatever you want about them. They might rank last in the league in not getting back on defense because they're complaining over a foul. Like, they do not do that. They will they'll say something, but they do it while they're running or jogging. Like, they get back on defense. So when Jovic didn't, that was jarring. Like, I don't know about you, but I was like, oh my God, the Heat only have 4 guys on defense. What happened to the other guy? And it's because Nico was arguing the foul call. He's going to get lit up in film for that. But I think that's part of it. It all sort of ties into like, hey, integrity of the game, all this stuff. I also think that Erik Spoelstra, we've seen him, he does call challenges, and when he does, he actually has a really high winning percentage on these challenges. So maybe he's just picking and choosing the spots. Like, it's only like when he's holding pocket aces that'll do it. It is too careful.
Like that.
But he's also,
Like that was an obvious one with Rozier. Like, I mean,
at least challenge it. It
the
doesn't
play,
hurt.
if you didn't see it, like Colin Sexton completely loses his balance and just falls, and he
Trips
falls
over
into
his own
Terry,
feet.
and it looks like Terry initiated contact, and that's why
Yeah.
he got the foul called against him. But it wasn't him. It was just Sexton losing his balance on an inbound play there. So I don't know. It was or was it just a pass to him? I can't recall if it was an inbound or a pass. But either way,
It was an inbound
it was,
into
it was
an
an
inbound into
inbound to
Sexton
Sexton,
on the sideline. Yeah,
and he
and
lost
so
his
then he just
balance
trips
there.
over
So
himself.
it should not have been a foul call. The replay showed it closely. Again, that's kind of bang bang. Maybe you're not really able to see that within the context of the moment, but that's what the iPad is for.
Last thing from William B. If the Heat rattle off 4-2 on this road trip and really find a breakthrough, is it bad news coming home to Jimmy? As the Heat win, should that push Riley further into trying to get a deal done before we come home to the Nuggets and Jimmy Butler? I don't think that there's anything that can. I think they're fully into wherever it is in terms of trying to trade Jimmy Butler. I don't think that there's anything, win streak, losing streak, or otherwise, that would push, that would motivate the Heat any more than they already are to find a Jimmy Butler trade.
I mean, we're talking about the team's best player by a pretty wide margin, and this is has been a huge distraction, one that they didn't expect or want, and didn't maybe they didn't prepare or again they didn't anticipate that this was going to be this kind of problem in season, and maybe that's on them for not recognizing it or not doing this during the off season. But these kinds of things take time. Like the Dame Lillard was months of speculation and looking at how, we're reading the tea leaves everywhere and reports and everything else like that. This has been a week since his trade request has been formalized. We're 2 weeks away from Pat Riley saying he wouldn't be traded. So this is come on very quickly. They don't take place right away. I'm sure the Heat are doing everything they possibly can to engage as many trade partners as possible, but there just aren't a lot of options. And to your point earlier, the report is that they'll welcome him back because they're trying to tell everybody, look, we're not going to just take your low ball offer of like pennies on the dollar, but they might be forced to if they think it's going to be that much of a distraction.
That means they are getting at least low ball offers.
Yeah, that's no doubt.
Is it? I mean, you obviously don't have the answer to this question. If there's if the only low ball offer out there is Bradley Beal for Jimmy Butler, obviously they can't do that.
Right.
If there's another low ball offer out there, I would love to see what it is and how low that ball offer is, how low that ball actually is. Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on your favorite podcast app.